Well, the Lakers had a heartbreaker last night, getting beat in devastating fashion, a half-court buzzer-beating shot by Josh Giddey, after two very poor possessions that led to their immediate downfall, kind of shooting themselves in the foot here. But if there's anything that grabbed the attention more of the NBA than that game and the Lakers losing in that fashion, it would have to be the Lakers' next opponent, that being the Memphis Grizzlies. If you have not heard by now, they have fired their head coach Taylor Jenkins, the winningest head coach in Grizzlies history, having a winning percentage of .539, again the most wins in their franchise history, but have moved on from him with only about 3 weeks left to go into the postseason. And not to mention them currently being the 5th seed, the Lakers' current playoff matchup, not only their next opponent, but potentially their playoff opponent in round 1, and it could have big implications for both teams going forward. So we're going to talk about what it means for the Lakers in their next matchup, the second time they have faced the team after firing a head coach this season, the first one being the Sacramento Kings, if that will actually help them, if it will hurt them, and what it might mean if they do in fact match up come playoff time. And well, to begin, I think we'll start with the actual report about it and what might have happened behind the scenes leading up to it. And according to Shams Charania, Taylor Jenkins was called into the Grizzlies office this morning, pretty much fired on the spot, and the primary cause behind it being the fact that he lost the Grizzlies locker room. I mean, throughout the second half of the NBA season now, the Grizzlies have not played well, falling from the 2nd seed down to the 5th seed, only continuing to tumble further, with really no upside being on the horizon for them, not improving offensively or defensively, only getting worse, and well, that eventually led to them firing him, and here's what Shams had to say about it and why they did it.
Sources tell me that the Grizzlies simply felt that Taylor Jenkins had progressively lost the locker room and their play had plateaued and declined the second half of this NBA season. From the perspective of how they played against teams over 500, they severely declined in their opinion. They had lost 9 consecutive games by an average of almost 13 points against teams with an over 500 record. They were 7th in defensive efficiency the first half of the season. They have now declined down to 20th. And so this is stunning for the Grizzlies, stunning around the NBA. Taylor Jenkins immediately becomes among the top head coaching candidates for this next cycle. Teams will likely start pursuing him really quickly here in the coming weeks as teams shape their future. He's someone that had 250 wins, the most in Grizzlies franchise history.
Now, even with that information, I'm still shocked by it. I know that Shams mentioned they probably did lose the locker room, and when that does tend to happen, there's often no coming back from it. But then again, for a guy and a head coach that's been your head coach for over half a decade at this point, again, their most winningest head coach in franchise history, and the guy that's developed and really brought their current core group together of Ja Morant, Desmond Bane, Jaren Jackson Jr., and pretty much the entirety of their current rotation, I'm not sure I would have fired him at this point. Let him see it through and try and right the ship. If he doesn't, that simply gives you more reason to fire him and move on from him, but at this point, I'm not sure a current assistant will do much better, will do anything that gets the team back on track and gives them a deeper postseason push than what Taylor Jenkins might have been able to do for them. I mean, I don't know. I feel like they wouldn't have gotten this far if he was a bad head coach. Not only this season, and yes, they are trending downward, but simply about the time with him and with their current group together, they've done pretty well, and he's obviously been able to relate to their current group. And if they've gone through bad stretches in the past, I'm not sure why they possibly couldn't again this time around. But I guess they thought Jenkins was going to get through this one and eventually did move on from him, hiring a current assistant coach for their team. I'm not going to try and pronounce that because I definitely would butcher it. But they moved on from Taylor Jenkins. Will that give their team a spark? Will that spark them against the Lakers? And could they potentially be a more dangerous playoff matchup now? Or potentially an easier one, or simply the same thing? Well, that's up to interpretation, but if we look back to the Lakers' last opponent that fired their head coach, like I mentioned before, was the Sacramento Kings, firing Mike Brown, moving on to Doug Christie, and although the Lakers did beat them, albeit in a very tough back and forth game, the Kings did go on a run after that point, and that might be something to watch out for with Memphis. No, even if they don't beat them or get beat by them tomorrow night, they might go on a run thereafter. And with them both currently being tied in the standings, both having a record of 44-29, currently fighting for that 4th seed and may eventually match up in round 1, that definitely is something to watch out for. If Memphis will go on a run, they definitely could overtake the Lakers. I mean, the Lakers not playing that well themselves right now, being 4-6 in their past 10 games and coming off a heartbreaking defeat to Chicago. So yeah, it would be hard for them to keep pace with them. and even one game slip could mean falling from the 4th seed down to the 5th seed, if not even further if they don't right the ship. And well, like I said, the current obstacle for both teams is each other, playing tomorrow night or tonight depending on when you're watching this video, matching up in Memphis. The Grizzlies playing their first game without Taylor Jenkins in about half a decade at this point. The Lakers coming off a heartbreaking defeat, both teams trying to right the ship and find the right energy to play with, which should make for an interesting matchup. But post-trade deadline, both teams have definitely been a bit rocky, more so for Memphis than the Lakers, but both teams especially lately. For Memphis, they have gone 9-13, 4 games below 500, having an offensive rating of 115.7, around league average, a defensive rating of 116.7, below league average, having a negative 1.1 net rating, and definitely have been trending downhill. Then for the Lakers, lately have not played well, but being 15-10 in that time frame, having an offensive rating of 114.5, a defensive rating of 113.2, barely top 11 at this point, and a net rating of plus 1.3. However, in the past week alone for them, definitely not very good, having the worst defensive rating in the entire league, a bottom 10 offensive rating, a bottom 5 net rating, and definitely been trending downward, not playing a full 48-minute game in pretty much any game in their past 5 games now, either playing a good first half or a good second half, but definitely not both, which once again happened for them last night. However, Lakers have really dominated and really owned the Grizzlies in their matchups lately. Dating back to March of 2023, during the regular season they have gone 6-2 against them, or if you count the postseason, another 4 wins to that total, therefore being 10-3 against them, with that 4-1 playoff series that they did pretty easily win back in 2023. So with that in mind here, it could be a good opportunity for them, or on the other side of that, a great opportunity for the Grizzlies to not only get on track post firing their head coach, but potentially get a little bit of revenge while doing it. Since that 2023 playoff matchup, these teams have kind of formed a mini rivalry, not meeting that much, but always having a pretty fiery matchup when they do meet. The Grizzlies definitely don't like the Lakers. Ja Morant even openly said that earlier this season. They've had a little bit of feuding back and forth, definitely lost a little bit of that luster with Dillon Brooks leaving, but even now, definitely don't like each other, more so on the Grizzlies side, but also on the Lakers side too. And with playoff implications on the line here, not only for seeding, but a potential playoff matchup between them, they definitely want to fight hard to win this game and kind of feel each other out for a potential playoff matchup. And I'm not gonna lie here, I think that would be my ideal round 1 playoff matchup for the Lakers. Not only about the matchup and probably their best matchup in round 1, apart from getting up to the 2nd or 1st seed, which really isn't possible at this point. I think that 4-5 spot would be good for them, matching up with the Grizzlies, who they do have a winning history against lately, not only in the regular season, but again pointing to the postseason, going back to 2023 here. Yes, that was with Anthony Davis, and without him it might be different, but I'm still taking my odds against them. I think they match up better with them compared to a team like Denver, compared to a team like even the LA Clippers, or a team like Golden State. I would pick Memphis for them. Between the obvious one, that being the current state of their team and really the lack of direction with their team, what that might look like, what their team might look like under a new interim head coach, and what that direction is for their team and kind of the unclear part about it, that's the obvious one. Or then about how they match up with the Lakers. Grizzlies, they don't really defend big guards that well, Luka being one of them, Austin being another one of them, LeBron obviously being another one of them. That's always been something they have trouble with. Even with their bigger front court, they don't really attack the backcourt that well and defend against them that well, and that's an obvious sticking point against a team like the Lakers. Overall though, if I'm the Lakers, I definitely would happily take them in a round 1 matchup. Again, between the prior success against them, the current state of their team, and how they match up with them, I think it would work out pretty well for them. Now in regard to their latest matchup here, that one's kind of a toss-up. With the way the Lakers currently are, with the momentum the Grizzlies might get from firing their head coach, and again kind of that post-firing head coach boost, I think it's definitely a real thing. That one's kind of a toss-up, but in the long term and in a 7-game playoff series, I definitely would take the Lakers and would favor them in that matchup. But with all of that being said, what do you guys think? How do you feel about Memphis firing Taylor Jenkins and what it might do or might not do for their team outlook and for their matchup against the Lakers? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. But I think that'll pretty much do it for this one, and if you enjoyed the video, then I would greatly appreciate it if you dropped a like, subscribe to the channel if you have not already, and hit that notification bell to never miss out when I upload a video. But as always, thank you for watching and have a great day or night.